Shelby here, and thank you for tuning in to the channel. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. In today's video, we are going to be talking about what I believe and from past experiences, what I think will be the number one lead source for real estate agents in 2023. Before we get into that, I am with a brokerage called Real Brokerage. They are one of the fastest growing brokerages in the world. If you want some more information about that, I will put it in the somewhere around here. You can click on it. We are going to talk about what to do now that we are coming down off the high of 2022 and 2021, rather. The end of 2022 was actually a low. So I guess coming down off the high of 2020 and 2021, the absolute craziness of the real estate market over the past couple years. But about Q2 of 2022, things seem to come to a grinding halt. Obviously, every area is a little bit different wherever you're at in the United States or maybe the world. Obviously, things can vary from state to state, city to city, county to county, but for the most part, in the talk throughout the media and the news has been interest rates and the slowing housing market, which is funny. We're going to get into this a little bit, but the slowing housing market is more of a normal housing market, right? If you've been in real estate as long as I have, 10 years, then you have seen all kinds of micro markets and ups and downs as rates have changed and things have happened throughout the world that can affect the real estate market. So we are going to talk about the source. That's why you're here. That's what you want to hear. I'm going to get into it, and I'm going to talk about kind of ways to approach this source, because this is nothing new. This is not a new source. So if you came to this channel hoping for some secret sauce or something brand new that no one's ever thought of, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You're not going to find that here. But you're going to maybe hear some things that maybe you haven't heard before regarding this source and why I think it's going to be the number one lead source if you're willing to put in a little bit of work, which if you're in this industry and you want to do well, you should be able to put in some work and be willing to put in some work. So what is that source? James, shut up. Tell us what it is. Stop me if you've heard this before. Expired listings. Now hold on before you turn off the video, because no one wants to talk about expires. Everyone hates expires. Everyone doesn't want to talk to these angry sellers. I get that. I understand that. But let's be realistic here. Let's think about this. Over the past, let's say from, I don't know, mid 2020 to mid 2022, there really were not any expired listings. I mean, let us be honest about that. The expired listings, if a listing did not sell over that time period, it was more than likely because the owner either was crazy and just was not reasonable and had no motivation to sell, even if they got a great offer, and they just didn't want to sell, or they just altogether decided they're not moving. If a home did not sell in the hottest real estate market that we've probably ever seen, that was probably the case. So I'll be honest, I built a lot of my business coming up on expired listings, on door knocking, all the stuff that most people don't want to do. But over the last 2 years, for the most part, there were no expired listings. There were very few, pretty much none. But here's why you need to go after expired listings. When we experienced this boom, this crazy boom, where you could put a home on the market and it sold in less than 24 hours, 50 grand above the list price, and realtors were walking around and posting everything, and I'm just as guilty, right? You want to show that, hey, you want to show sellers that, hey, this market's crazy. I just helped my seller get 50 grand above the list price. But when that's come to an end, and it has now, very much so, come to an end, sellers are starting to realize one thing, and that is that they need help. Motivated sellers that truly want to sell their property, need to sell their property, need to move out of state, need to relocate, they recognize now that the boom is over and they need some help. Because let's face it, sellers kind of had the upper hand. Not kind of, they did have the upper hand. And realtors are already not people's favorite, right? For the most part, most people don't love real estate agents. And so when you try to reach out to an expired listing, most of the time, they've already been contacted by a bunch of people. They're angry, they're disgruntled. And in a hot market, let's face it, they don't need realtors quite as much. Do realtors help them get more money than they would on their own? Yes. Does a good realtor help a seller get more money than a bad realtor would in a hot market? Yes. They're all the skills that maybe a really good realtor has that a bad realtor doesn't have. But let's face it, in a hot market, the good and bad realtors are a little closer together in the eyes of the seller because everything's selling and everything's selling above list. So 2023 is going to be the year of the expired. All the homes that were listed, I would say mid 2022 until today, have sat on the market and they either price reduce and sold, or they just didn't sell at all. And this is an exciting time for realtors that are willing to put in the work, because now there is an opportunity here that really didn't exist over the last 2 years. It kind of went away. And here's how you need to approach expired listings in 2022. And really, this is how you always should have been approaching expired listings. And I'm going to start with a couple of key questions and things that you're going to want to ask when you reach out to expireds. And then I'm going to get to some of the other kind of just as important factors of listing expireds at the end of the video. But first, we want to start with a couple things. How do we find expired listings? All right, let's start there. How do we know? Obviously, you can jump on the MLS and you can search for expired listings over the last 6 months and you can find them that way. The other way, you have all these services. RedX is one of them. That's the one I use. You have Vulcan 7. You have lots of different services. You can Google it. That will provide you not only all the expired listings from certain dates. You can pick whatever dates you want to find all the expired listings in whatever areas you're looking to work in. Not only do you have that, but they're going to provide the phone numbers and in many cases these days, the email addresses. So that is first and foremost where you're going to find the expired listings. I would suggest starting by calling them. And I know that's no one's favorite, but what you can do when you call, especially when you're using a system, a dialer, is you can reach a lot of people in a short amount of time. Now, we're going to get to something in a second where I think is even more powerful. But for now, I would always start, and what I have been doing and what I always have done to sell real estate at a high volume is call expired listings. So what are you going to want to say? Maybe you've never called an expired listing. Maybe you're new to real estate, or it's just never been part of your business. It was something maybe you were afraid of. Well, the key things, there's many scripts out there. I mean, you can download Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry. You can go find all different type of expired listing scripts. And I would encourage you to do so. I personally enjoy the Mike Ferry scripts. I take what Mike Ferry has given people in his scripts and I kind of make them my own. You don't want to read the script like a robot. Make it your own. Take the gist of it and make the script your own. But here are the key things, whether you're using a script or not. Here are the key questions you need to figure out. First and foremost, are they still wanting to make a move? And let me back up here for a second. You don't want to call and say, are you still looking to make a move? You need to find out that information, but that's not exactly how you want to phrase it. In sales, we don't want to ask questions that are either going to lead us to a yes or definitely not a no. Obviously, there's certain questions at certain points during a call or a presentation where we're going to want the answer to be yes. But when we're trying to talk to an expired listing, we really need to dig deep and figure out the following things. First and foremost, when do they plan on relisting the home? Second, when the home was on the market, because you're going to get, well, I don't know, you're going to get, we're going to take a break, we're going to get all those things. And when the prospect gives you those objections, or those lines where they want to kind of stop the conversation. We need to affirm that. We need to say, if the prospect says, well, it's not on the market anymore. You ask, hey, when do you plan on putting it on the market? Well, it's not on the market anymore. Okay, I understand, Mr. Seller. Your home is no longer on the market. We want to repeat back to them and say, I understand, so that they know and they understand that we are listening to them. But then we want to double down. We want to say, when it was on the market, what was the plan? Tell me a little bit more about that. We want to find out where they were planning on going, when they needed to be there, and why were they going there. So if they were moving from California to Arizona, we need to find out why. Are they an older person that is retiring and they just want to go somewhere where the weather's warmer? Are they older and they're moving to where their kids live? Are they transferring for a job? These are the types of things that we need to pull out of the prospect. When we're talking to the prospect, we need to also find out a time frame. Obviously, they had their home on the market, and they were already probably expecting that they would be at their destination. So when they say, well, I needed to sell because I'm going to Arizona, or the plan is to go to Arizona to be closer to my kids. Well, gosh, Mr. Seller, when did you need to be there? Again, this is a question. And throughout an expired listing call, and this is key, this is what I wanted to talk about earlier, we need to really approach these calls with the mindset of helping. And this is key. It sounds very elementary, but this is something that most salespeople skip right over. When most salespeople call, they sound like two different things. They sound like either a know-it-all, or they sound like they're not listening whatsoever. And that's why we go back, what I talked about before is the importance of repeating what the prospect tells us. But we really need to figure out what the motivation is and when they need to be there. And we need to approach that with a genuine curiosity and a genuine willingness and a want to help them. Tonality of your voice, when you change the inflection of your voice, and Mr. Seller, well, I can definitely understand you wanted to sell and get to Arizona. Is that correct? Yes, I did. Tell me a little bit more about that. What was in Arizona that you were looking for? The tonality is that of genuine curiosity. A lot of times you get salespeople that call and they say, well, I'm the best. Hey, I know your last agent wasn't good, but hey, Mr. Seller, I'm number one in the valley, and this is what you need to do, and this is how I can help. Let me help you, sir. Let me come over Monday. You're going to turn people off immediately. You need to approach it with a tonality and a genuine curiosity on how you can help the prospect, because those things come through in a phone call. They come through in a conversation. I cannot tell you how many times I've been on the phone 10 minutes into a phone call with an expired listing or a for sale by owner, and they say, hey, you know what? I normally would have hung up by now, but you actually seem like a nice guy. I've heard that over and over again. This is something almost as equally important as the importance of the questions we ask is the tonality with which we ask them. With a genuine, and I'm going to repeat this for the third time, a genuine curiosity and willingness to help. So calling is obviously the best way to reach the most amount of expires in a short amount of time. But what I think, and not only what I think, what I have been using in my area and over the last 10 years of my career to really connect and really have a high level of conversion rate with expired listings is door knocking. And there's a couple reasons why that works. First and foremost, if you've ever called expired listings, you'll know that sometimes you just can't keep people on the phone. Their phone's been ringing off the hook for the last 3 months. If you're calling an old expire, the phone's been ringing off the hook all day and night if it's a new expired. And there just sometimes comes a point where you can't get a hold of people. Door knocking will allow you to get face to face and in front of the prospect so that they can see you as a genuine, real person with a smile, with the tonality and the curiosity and the willingness to help in person. It's much harder to be rude to someone or to slam the door in someone's face when you're there in person. Can it happen? Yes. But it is much less likely to happen when you're in person, and you are much more likely to be able to have a good conversation with the prospect, with the expired listing. And what I'm seeing now, as I'm door knocking much more regularly these expired listings, I am seeing frustrated sellers, frustrated people that thought they'd already be moved into their new area. But this is really key. I'm seeing sellers that are now understanding that the market has changed. And it's taken them about 6 months for it to seep in to understand that this is not January of 2021 anymore. This is a new market, and they are starting to realize the genuine need for a skilled agent who is not only willing to work hard for them, but who's going to tell them the truth about what their home is worth and the reality in this new normal market, what needs to happen in order to get their home sold. I can't tell you how many times lately I've heard, the agent that I had or that we had list our home, they told us it would sell in a week. Sell in a week? Mid 2022, were homes selling in a week? Not in my area. Once the interest rates went up, home sales halted, and it took a lot longer. But most agents are not skilled. Most agents do not follow market statistics, and more importantly, most agents will straight up lie to get the listing. Let's be honest. Even if they know deep down the market ain't as good as it was, they're going to tell the seller, hey, you know what? We're going to get it sold in a week. The market's been hot, just to get the contract signed. And what happens even more often than not, most agents, once they've got the listing, are too afraid, or they don't have the skill to call the seller and say, hey, you know what, Mr. Seller, I made a mistake. We priced your home too high. I know you need to get to Arizona. Let's go ahead and do the right thing and drop the price down so that we can get you to Arizona to be with your family. Most agents do not possess the skill to make that phone call. You do. And if you don't yet, you will. You will if you put in the work. But this is the opportunity that's accessible to us in the market right now. And I do believe if you are if you're willing to acquire the skills that it takes to talk to a expired listing, this is going to be the number one lead source and closing source for you in 2023. If you want to learn more about Real Brokerage, again, I'm going to have the link here below. I'm going to continue to make videos like this. Obviously, we could elaborate much more on expired listings, but I'm just going to leave you with these thoughts for today. I'll probably make a video where we're going to break down more of the expired sales process. But for now, I'll leave you with this. When you approach any prospect, anyone that's maybe thinking about buying or selling, especially someone that has had a bad experience with an agent before, or someone who has had their home for sale by owner and they're getting bombarded with calls, remember to approach the prospect with the tonality and the mindset of genuine curiosity of what went wrong and where they need to be and how you can help, because it will come through if you can get the tonality correct and if you know the right questions to ask. Because remember, selling is not telling. It's not telling them how great we are. It's not bragging about us. It's not showing them how great our drone videos are. It's asking them what they need to accomplish and when they need to accomplish, or when it needs to be done by, when they need to be there, and then walking them through the process of genuinely showing them, hey, I understand based on everything you've told me from the questions that I've been asking you that you need to be here at this certain time and this is why you're going there. Now, Mr. Seller, are you familiar with the techniques that I use personally to help clients just like yourself accomplish their goals of getting their home sold and getting to their next destination? That's the final question you really need to ask, because what they're going to say obviously is, no, I don't really know. Well, I'd love to show you. When would be the best time to show you? That's all I got for you today, guys. We're going to be giving you much more videos as time goes on, and I'm looking forward to providing more content for you. Feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook. You can find me all over the internet. Let's connect. Would love to meet you. I've made great relationships with agents all over the world, and the network is huge and it's continuing to grow. We'll catch you on the next video.